Hey there, and welcome to another edition of AI versus the trainer. We went to CHAT GPT again for this one, and one of the most frequented classes, the most discussed topics is anything that has to do with difficult conversations. Specifically, we went today and talked about personal hygiene. We asked CHAT GPT, how do you have that conversation with an employee about personal hygiene, specifically taking a shower? I've had this conversation. It can be potentially dangerous. It's always going to be uncomfortable, but with a few helpful hints, this can be something that you work through. ChatGPT number one, we're going to do a compare and contrast here. Their number one is select a private setting. I'm going to stop right there, prepare. You want to be sure that you are prepared mentally, that you have the right mindfulness, that you have the right state of emotional intelligence for this conversation. Do some research with your organization as well. Be prepared and then pick a private setting. Again, my contrast here is try to stay away from your specific office, which is typically someplace you bring employees to have disciplinary conversations, difficult conversations. We want to pick someplace that is neutral, that is going to have that employee in a very comfortable state, because this is going to be, no matter how hard you try, something that's personal. Choose the right time. Absolutely, you choose the right time. Even bring the employee in on it. But here again, I'm going to suggest we stay away from Fridays so that we don't leave an employee in an emotional state over the weekend. And we try to stay away from Mondays, because these are going to have a start time, but may not have a completion time, depending on how the conversation goes. And we're trying to put out fires on Mondays, and we're going to be in a different place. Again, number one was prepare. This is part of that preparation. If it can't be avoided, then yes, Fridays and Mondays. But I would try to pick a time and place that is not a Friday and a Monday. Use polite, non-judgmental tone. Yes, use I statements. But again, I'm going to take it a step further and say we are not starting with, it has been brought to my attention. Stay away from it. That is a hard pass. Have some bravery. It's going to be uncomfortable, but this has to come from you and you specifically. It cannot be from anybody else. Be specific. Yes, this is what we're talking about. But I would say that we start with the conversation, not with, hey, I noticed the difference in your hygiene. I would start with something that maybe brings everybody into a same comfort level, which is, if it's summertime, maybe how stifling it is. If it's wintertime, maybe how there's a lack of air movement. Get everybody going on the same page. Listen actively. This is part of that preparation. We're listening. Is there a cultural component? Is there a gender component? Is there anything in there that's going to put up a red flag for us and tell us that we're getting into a dangerous area? Or is there anything in here that's going to indicate to us why this may have happened? We do not know their specific situation. You must go into this with the idea that you're exploring why this is happening. Why is it important for you to explore this? And why is it important for the employee to have this conversation with you? Provide solutions. I would suggest that you collaborate on this one with them, and you would ask the employee and lead them to their own solutions. You'll have a better success rate of them sticking to whatever the proposed solution is, but it also makes it a little bit easier that you're not telling them something or suggesting based on your lifestyle or your personal preferences. Ask the employee to provide solutions, offer support. Here's where the number one, be prepared. What does your organization offer as far as support? If there is something in there that we picked up during our listening portion of this, maintain confidentiality. That goes without saying. Document the conversation. I might take a couple of notes, maybe if it's the first time on a date and time that I had this conversation. I'm not going to get too specific. I don't want this to ever have to come up again. So I'm not going to be very, very specific on those. And follow up, I'm going to contrast that as well by saying, I don't know if I specifically follow up with that individual. That's going to be a game time decision. You may just want to, if everything's going good, may just want to leave it alone. If you need to have a follow-up conversation with that individual, that's going to be something that you have to discuss at the time. One thing that's not brought up here that I would highly suggest is who's in the room with you. Again, we're talking about a perhaps cultural component, a gender component here. How does your HR policies align with those things? And sometimes we have to be brave enough. to pass this off to somebody else if we feel it's going to be better suited for ourselves, the individual, and our organization. That's been another edition of AI versus the Trainer. Hope everybody learned something, and we look forward to seeing you next time.